Welcome to this episode of Rewind a Closer Look. Today we're heading to the upscale streets of Beverly Hills for a movie that asks an important question. What happens when a city full of millionaires suddenly finds itself completely abandoned? Released in 1991, The Taking of Beverly Hills combines action, explosions, car chases, shootouts, and one surprisingly clever criminal scheme into a wild early 90s action flick that seems to have flown under a lot of people's radar. But does this forgotten action movie deserve a second look, or should it have stayed locked away in a Beverly Hills vault? So grab your football helmet, keep an eye on your valuables, and let's take a closer look at The Taking of Beverly Hills. The movie opens with a voiceover about Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills. While we get shots of everyday life around the city, our narrator explains that Beverly Hills has its own city council, its own police force, insanely expensive real estate, and more money than most of us will ever see. He then casually mentions that he's one of the local cops and he can't even afford to live where he works. So we're starting things off with a little commentary of the growing gap between the haves and the have-nots. The voiceover fades out and the opening credits begin. We get white text over actual footage instead of that dreaded black screen. Unfortunately, these credits go on forever. Seriously, it feels like they're trying to set a world record for longest opening credits sequence in an action movie. After what feels like 5 minutes, the credits finally end, and we find ourselves riding along with Robert Davi.
Please take me to the sheriff's station. I can describe all three of them.
He's on his way to a black tie charity event for the homeless. He arrives, steps out of his car, and heads inside. After a little bit of socializing, Davi runs into the father of his ex-girlfriend. The old guy makes it clear that it isn't Davi's money he dislikes, it's Davi himself. Ouch. We then learn he's in the insurance business and has decided to cancel Davi's policy before walking away. And I have to admit, starting your action movie with a conversation about insurance policies it's certainly a choice. Riveting stuff, guys. Davi brushes it off and tells one of the security guards to go find someone named Boomer. And honestly, that's still a better nickname than Cannonball. The guard heads out and finds the cop from the opening narration, played by Matt Frewer.
Trash can man.
Before he can say much, the police chief, played by Lyman Ward,
Have a good holiday. I'll see you in Chicago, John.
You'll never make the sick.
shows up and tells the guard to keep it down because everyone inside can hear him yelling. The guard reminds him that he's no longer a cop and he doesn't answer to him anymore. A limo suddenly pulls up and is immediately surrounded by a crowd of screaming women. The mystery guest steps out and our cop helps escort him through the chaos. I'm guessing this is Boomer? Played by Ken Wahl.
Why is it so compact?
Yeah. Takes a lot less to end the world than you might imagine.
Boomer asks why they sent the cop to pick him up instead of having him, do actual police work. Trash Can Man just shrugs and says he doesn't question orders. Boomer promises he'll put in a good word for him and maybe he'll even get him a raise. The charity event gets underway and we learn that it has already raised $2 million for the homeless. As Boomer makes his way through the crowd, people keep congratulating him on a great pass. So I guess maybe he's a football player? Boomer eventually sits down with Davi, who immediately starts chewing him out for grandstanding during a game and not being a team player. Boomer fires back by asking why he's even at this event. Davi reminds him that the public appearances are part of his contract and tells him to be the window dressing he's paying for. So unless I'm missing something, Davi owns a football team and Boomer is his star quarterback? We're getting all this information at the charity fundraiser for the homeless. Auction movie plotting at its finest. Davi and Boomer finish their little chat when a woman sits down at the table. The event continues, and Davi is recognized for donating $1 million to the homeless fund. The guy on stage thanks him and says the donation will mean so much to so many people, even though it means so little to Davi. Okay, that's a pretty backhanded compliment. I get what he's trying to say, but that's basically the rich guy version of thanks for the spare change. The speeches finally wrap up, and the woman who is apparently Davi's ex gets up to leave. Davi immediately tries to make conversation, but she basically responds with a polite nope and walks away. Boomer gets up to try to follow her, and Davi warns him that he's been down that road before and that only money can help him climb that mountain. Boomer just shrugs and says he'll see. Now, I don't want to be mean, but looking at Robert Davi, I have a feeling money has probably helped him with a few introductions over the years.
Emotional damage!
As Boomer heads off, Davi starts wheezing, pulls out an asthma inhaler. And whenever a movie takes the time to show you something like that, you know it's either important later or the prop department got a bulk discount on inhalers. The woman turns out to be named Laura, played by Harley Jane Kozak.
I wouldn't admit to it because, of course, this was a big deal movie and very exciting. And I said, oh, I love spiders.
She meets up with the insurance guy from earlier, who turns out to be her father. He asks her to come back to New York with him, but she declines because she has meetings she can't get out of. The two say their goodbyes and head off in different directions. Meanwhile, Boomer catches up to Laura and immediately starts laying on the charm. A group of rich old guys notices what's happening and starts taking bets on whether or not he'll succeed. Davi watches the whole thing and looks less than thrilled. Boomer and Laura spend quite a while talking. It basically boils down to Laura's thinking he's just another self-absorbed celebrity athlete.
She's not wrong.
And while Boomer argues that rich people only attend charity events to make themselves feel better about being rich. That's a surprisingly cynical conversation for a movie that hasn't blown anything up yet. Boomer eventually promises to donate an entire year of Saturdays to train children if Laura agrees to go out with him. And somehow that works. He gets a kiss on the cheek, and the rich guys start paying out their bets. Davi somehow looks even more annoyed than before. As all of this is happening, we cut away to a large tanker truck carrying toxic chemicals driving down the highway. You know, just casually planning the real plot while everyone else is busy flirting. Boomer and Laura leave together to grab a drink while the event finally winds down. For some reason, we then get a scene of the venue being cleaned up. Why? No idea. Maybe somebody was just proud of the cleanup crew? Boomer and Laura finish up their drinks and head back to his house. They spend most of their time talking about money, success, and eventually Robert Davi. In fact, a good chunk of the conversation is basically just the two of them taking turns complaining about the guy. During all this, we finally get confirmation that Boomer is actually a professional football player and the team's quarterback, which explains why everyone's been treating him like a celebrity all night. Out on the street, Trash Can Man is sitting in his patrol car when the toxic chemical truck suddenly blasts past him at high speed. He flips on the lights and takes off after it. And just like that, the movie finally remembers it's supposed to be an action film. Boomer eventually tells Laura that he took a few hard hits during the game and should probably call it a night.
Ha! Gay!
The two make it all the way to the front door before immediately starting to make out. Right in the middle of this, the tanker truck and the pursuing police car scream past the house. Both of them stop for a second, look outside, watch the chaos fly by, and then go right back to making out. Boomer suddenly announces that he's feeling much better now, and they close the door. Back with Trash Can Man and the tanker truck, the chase continues for a bit until the truck takes a corner way too fast. It sideswipes another vehicle, causing a huge explosion, while the trailer detaches and rolls over in the middle of the street. The truck itself just keeps on trucking. The chemicals begin pouring everywhere, and our cop radios dispatch about the accident and the hazardous spill. As emergency vehicles race towards the scene, the chemicals start smoking and bubbling. Cut to the police station. Wait, how is our cop here? Did he just leave the accident scene? Great police work there, buddy. Anyway, the desk sergeant explains that the tanker was carrying fluorine, which is apparently lethal. He rattles off a bunch of evacuation numbers and isolation zones, while I get distracted by a much more important question. Why is there a giant Bob's Big Boy statue sitting in the lobby of the police station? Well, we soon find out, because the guy sitting on a nearby bench stole it during a bachelor party. Our cop points out that they might have slightly bigger problems to deal with right now, and the desk sergeant agrees, telling them just to leave. What's the point of any of that? At the spill site, Emergency services finally arrive. Fire trucks, ambulances, police, and the EPA all flood the area. One of the EPA agents immediately starts ordering anyone without protective gear to clear out. Back at Boomer's house, Laura's trying on one of his football jerseys when she discovers our action hero relaxing in a candlelit bubble bath. Not exactly the tough guy image I was expecting.
Gay!
Outside, roadblocks are being set up around Beverly Hills as police cars drive through the streets announcing that the city is under quarantine. At the station, the Bob's Big Boy thieves are finally leaving. Again, why? Inside, the officers are suiting up in hazmat gear. The commanding officer reminds everyone that fluorine is deadly and tells them to double check their rebreathers. Maybe I'm wrong, but do Beverly Hills police officers normally receive advanced hazardous material training? Because that's a pretty specific skill set. Outside, the giant Bob's Big Boy statue suddenly proves it wasn't a random gag after all. The thieves open a hidden compartment inside the statue and pull out a collection of weapons. Okay, movie, you have my attention now. The armed men sneak over to the room where the officers are changing into their hazmat gear and lock the door, trapping them all inside. Meanwhile, Trash Can Man is cruising around town in his patrol car, making evacuation announcements over the PA system. He's warning everyone that prolonged exposure to the gas could be fatal, and they need to board the evacuation buses immediately. This warning is being delivered, however, by a guy driving around with absolutely no protective gear whatsoever. The residents are told not to worry about their homes because the police have everything under control, and that the gas should dissipate within 6 hours. We also spot Davi being evacuated while repeatedly using his asthma inhaler, and whenever a movie keeps reminding you about a character's medical condition, you can safely assume they're not there by accident. Back at Boomer's house, he's still trying to convince Laura to join him in the tub when she heads downstairs to grab some champagne. I'm a little confused here. Weren't these two just making out a few minutes ago? She's walking around wearing nothing but his football jersey, but suddenly she's acting like he's moving way too fast.
I need you now, in the worst way. I can't control it. Take me, man meat! But I don't want you to think I'm a slut.
I'm not saying she has to jump in the tub with him. I'm just saying the movie seems unsure where these two are in their relationship. Downstairs, Laura hears the evacuation announcements coming from outside. She looks out the window to see what's happening, quickly throws on her shoes and coat, and heads for the front door. The second she opens the door, 2 cops rush her toward one of the evacuation buses. Laura repeatedly tells them that Boomer is still inside the house, but nobody seems particularly concerned about that. After the buses pull away, one of the cops asks what a boomer is. Another shrugs, says it's probably her dog. Okay, that one actually got a laugh out of me. As the officers gather together, one of them removes his mask, revealing himself to be the former cop security guard from the charity event. He grabs a radio and gives a simple order: take it. Suddenly, officers all across Beverly Hills start rolling up their sleeves and pulling out what appear to be scientific calculators. Seriously? Scientific calculators. They start punching buttons like they're about to fail a high school math exam. What calculation could possibly be so important right now? The calculators somehow connect to a central command center, where we learn that we have 70 minutes before the National Guard arrives. The officers begin rolling around large hazardous waste containers and head towards the mansions. Using their magic calculators, they somehow generate alarm bypass codes, unlock security systems, and start breaking into homes. And just like that, the real plot finally reveals itself. On the evacuation bus, Laura notices something odd. A bunch of expensive purebred dogs are running around the gas-filled streets completely unattended. Before she can think too much about it, the bus just keeps moving. Meanwhile, Boomer's still upstairs sitting in the bubble bath. He's dimming the lights. He's turning on romantic music. He's still waiting for Laura to come back. It's been at least 20 minutes. At no point does he stop and think, wow, this champagne run is taking a while. Maybe the mansion's just enormous. Maybe he's incredibly patient. I don't know, maybe repeated blows to the head during football games has affected his judgment. Whatever the reason, he just keeps waiting. While Boomer's enjoying bath time, the fake cops are tearing through Beverly Hills. They break into mansion after mansion, and whenever alarms go off, nobody is left at the police station to respond. At the edge of the quarantine zone, the mayor of Beverly Hills arrives and demands to be let through. The officers tell him he can't enter because of the deadly gas. The mayor basically says, "That's nice," and drives in anyway. The cops just let him pass, which kind of tells me the honest officers are probably working the perimeter roadblocks while all the crooked ones are busy robbing the city blind. By this point, none of the fake cops are even bothering to wear their masks anymore, so unless they're all secretly immune to toxic fluorine gas, it's pretty obvious the chemical spill is fake. That's probably smarter than using real chemical disaster as cover for your robbery.
No shit.
The fake cops continue looting their way down Rodeo Drive, stuffing stolen valuables into hazardous waste containers instead of getaway bags. Back at the headquarters, the running total of stolen goods has already hit $23 million in little over 5 minutes. First of all, wow. Second, who is counting all this? Are the calculators doing that too? As ridiculous as some of this is, I have to admit, the fake chemical spill is actually a fantastic plan. Evacuate an entire city, trap the real police, seal off the roads, and then spend an hour robbing the richest neighborhood in America. That's a pretty solid villain scheme. Boomer finally gets out of his bath and starts looking around for Laura. The mayor of Beverly Hills has stopped his car after noticing the former cop security guard from the charity event. He asks what's going on, and the response? The guy pulls out a gun and shoots him right in the face.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Afterward, he tells the dead mayor that it's finally their turn of the trough. And honestly, that line probably hits a little harder today than it did in 1991. The movie keeps circling back to the growing divide between the rich and everyone else. But since this isn't a depressing political channel,
Thank God.
let's get back to explosions and bad decisions. Trash Can Man arrives at the scene and finds the mayor's body. He's furious and reminds the others that there wasn't supposed to be any killing. I have to admit, I was surprised to see Trash Can Man involved in all this. But looking back at the opening narration about him not being able to afford to live where he works, I guess the movie was planting the seeds right from the beginning. Trash Can Man just gives him a long look and walks away. Meanwhile, the looting continues. Paintings are being loaded into ambulances, valuables are disappearing in hazardous waste containers, and Beverly Hills is basically getting cleaned out. Back at Boomer's mansion, our hero is still wandering around looking for Laura. He eventually notices that the front door is open and steps outside wearing nothing but a bath towel and, oh no, more male nipples. I'm having speed demon flashbacks. Boomer walks out onto his front lawn and immediately notices that something is very wrong. The ex-cop guy spots him and orders 2 of the fake cops to go kill him. Honestly, what else are they supposed to do? The guy just stumbled onto their entire operation. The 2 cops chase Boomer back into the house and start spraying automatic gunfire everywhere. Boomer runs upstairs, rigs a trap using one of his exercise machines, and then climbs back into the bubble bath to hide. The first cop bursts into the bathroom and starts firing blindly around the room because apparently that's standard police procedure now. The trap goes off, launching him backward through a window, and of course his finger remains glued to the trigger the entire time. I always thought cops were taught trigger discipline, but maybe firing wildly while flying through the air is just part of advanced training. It worked for that cop in Sonic Impact. Granted, he blew up the entire airplane's cockpit, but still. The second cop finds Boomer in the tub and immediately starts shooting at him. Before he can try again, somebody shoots him. Did Laura come back? Nope, it's Trash Can Man. Looks like he's having second thoughts. Boomer immediately asks where Laura is. Trash Can Man assures him she's fine and was evacuated with everyone else. He also looks like he's about 3 minutes away from a complete mental breakdown. Maybe this is the official origin story of Trash Can Man.
People who play with fire with the bed trash.
Out on the street, the truck driver who dumped the chemical trailer earlier returns in an armored SWAT vehicle. He's played by Branscombe Richmond.
Hey, brother, what you doing, huh? You stealing my art. I want you to put it back right now. Put it back, brother. Understand? Give me a picture. Doodoo paper. You throwing doodoo paper.
He immediately looks like the kind of guy who solves every problem with excessive force. He and the ex-cop guy exchange a few insults before heading their separate ways. Boomer finally gets the story. Trash Can Man explains that the entire operation is being carried out by former cops. The chemical spill is fake, the city's empty, and the real police force is currently locked inside the station locker room. He then says nobody was supposed to get hurt, and Boomer asks why anyone is surprised people are getting killed when everyone involved is carrying automatic weapons. That's a fair point. Boomer then grabs a syringe and a vial of cortisol, explaining that it will help him keep going. He insists that they need to escape Beverly Hills, and tells somebody what's happening. Apparently, he also believes football skills are enough to outrun a small army of armed ex-cops. Trash Can Man points out that they'll just get killed. Boomer's solution? That's why I need you. I don't know how to shoot. Oh, good. So the plan is apparently for the professional athlete to handle everything except for the guns.
Great plan.
What's he gonna do? Throw footballs at people? Boomer grabs a gun and a belt from one of the dead cops and heads for the front door. He looks to the people just in time to see the armored SWAT truck charging straight toward the house. And when I say toward the house, I don't mean the front door. I mean the entire wall. The truck smashes through the mansion like the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yeah.
Boomer and the Trash Can Man sprint out the back, climb a fence, and land on top of a box truck on the other side. They slide down the front and take off running. Boomer immediately goes into full football mode, plowing through anyone unlucky enough to get in his way, like he's carrying the game-winning touchdown. The SWAT truck eventually catches up and starts blasting away with its cannon. And wow, SWAT truck guy does not mess around. He misses our heroes repeatedly, but he absolutely annihilates several houses nearby with glorious explosions. And I have to admit, for a guy who's supposedly trying to capture him, he's doing an amazing job destroying everything except his actual targets. Our heroes sprint through a tennis court with the SWAT truck right on their heels. The truck opens fire again, turning Beverly Hills real estate into a fireworks show. Eventually they duck into a dark alley, but both ends are blocked by armed ex-cops. After running around for a bit, they decide the best hiding place is inside a giant trash can.
Garbage day!
And somehow, it works. At least for a minute. Just as they're about to climb out, the SWAT truck comes barreling into the alley. The driver has no idea they're hiding in the trash can and simply just slams into it by coincidence. Instead of immediately being crushed under several tons of armored vehicle, the can just gets pushed along the front of the truck like a shopping cart. They're heading straight towards a parked police cruiser and are seconds away from becoming human pancakes. But the plot armor is strong, and the trash can somehow just slides harmlessly off to the side, while the SWAT truck smashes into the cruiser and gets hung up on it. Sure, why not? The head ex-cop broadcasts a message to all the real officers on the roadblocks. He calmly informs them that all the explosions that they're hearing are simply EPA tests, and that there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Well, that should clear everything up. The police chief of Beverly Hills finally arrives. And we learn the reason it took him so long to get there. Even the police chief can't afford to live in Beverly Hills. The poor guy had to drive in from Pasadena. The officers at the roadblock refuse to let him through and direct him to the evacuation headquarters instead. The headquarters turns out to be less of an emergency command center and more of a luxury hotel, but hey, this is Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills! Laura and Davi are sitting together having a drink. Both are worried about Boomer, although for very different reasons. Davi offers to open the hotel shops for Laura to get some new clothes, since he owns the hotel. She thanks him and immediately reminds him she doesn't need his money. This guy's got it bad. A bellhop eventually catches one of the fake EPA agents and tells him the police chief is looking for him downstairs. Laura overhears the conversation and then watches the supposed EPA agent remove his badge and sneak out the back exit. Yeah, she's gonna figure this out pretty quickly. Back in Beverly Hills, Boomer and Trash Can Man are still trying to escape the SWAT truck. They stop for a few seconds to catch their breath and the truck immediately catches up and fires around into the house nearby. The resulting explosion is absolutely massive. I'm not even kidding. That blast probably could have made my top 10 B-movie explosions episode. The truck keeps firing, more houses explode, and eventually it finally runs out of ammunition. Boomer decides he's done playing defense. He comes up with a plan and somehow convinces Trash Can Man to sit on top of a fence as a distraction, maybe? Then he starts explaining a football play to him. This goes exactly as well as you'd expect. Boomer runs off, gets the truck's attention, and then charges directly towards the fence. Trash Can Man jumps clear, Boomer jumps the fence, and the truck follows, and immediately drives straight into a swimming pool on the other side. Which raises an important question. Why did Trash Can Man need to sit on the fence? Was that actually part of the plan? Or was Boomer just trying to make himself sound smart because, football? I have no idea. Back at the evac center, which conveniently happens to be in Davi's hotel, the police chief, Laura, and Davi are discussing the evacuation. Laura points out something interesting. If the dogs were still wandering around outside, shouldn't that mean the area is safe? Animals usually avoid danger. The chief counters that some dogs are actually pretty dumb. Fair point. Then a bald guy at the table points out that one whiff of fluorine wouldn't make a dog run away. It would kill the dog. The dogs weren't running away because there wasn't any fluorine. Davi asks if he's confident enough to enter the evacuation zone, and the man says he would do it with the proper equipment. The conversation quickly turns into a group discussion about how incompetent the EPA appears to be. The chief agrees, saying he's been trying to get answers from them all night. Davi gets up and leaves, and a few minutes later, Laura follows, and for the first time, somebody besides Boomer is finally starting to put pieces together. The fake cops set off more smoke grenades to keep the illusion alive. Our duo have finally made it down to the rodeo.
Rodeo with a shotgun!
And are looking for a getaway car. Boomer's still worried about the toxic gas drifting through the streets until Trash Can reminds him for about the 100th time that the gas is fake. The fresh smoke gives them some cover, and they take off running down the street. Unfortunately for them, they're immediately spotted. The pair duck into a luxury car dealership and grab a set of keys for a Rolls Royce. They run over to the car, hit the unlock button, and instantly trigger the alarm. Wrong Rolls Royce, because of course, this is Beverly Hills after all. Beverly Hills! There are probably 6 identical ones parked within 20 feet. The alarm attracts every cop in the area, gunfire erupts, and our heroes dive for cover behind a collection of exotic sports cars. Soon the luxury vehicles start exploding, one after another, as Boomer and Trash Can Man make their escape. I don't know why every car in Beverly Hills explodes like it's carrying military-grade explosives, but I'm not complaining. Back at headquarters, the ex-cops have already stolen an unbelievable amount of loot. The running total is up to $232 million, and they still supposedly have 58 minutes left. Yeah, that countdown clock is moving slower than the opening credits. Meanwhile, the SWAT truck is being pulled out of the swimming pool. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Getting a bulldozer there, hooking up cables, and dragging that thing out should have taken longer than the entire operation supposed to last. But time clearly works differently in Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills! Our heroes eventually pull into a mansion and hide out for a bit. While they're catching their breath, Boomer discovers a bottle of liquor in the car, and he suddenly gets an idea. And whenever an action hero finds alcohol and immediately smiles, you know somebody's property is about to catch fire. Back at the hotel, Davi heads down in the basement, and Laura secretly follows him. Why? No idea, but it's a good thing she does, because Davi meets with the fake EPA agent. Davi's in on the whole thing. Honestly, I was waiting for the reveal, but it's still satisfying when it finally happens. The meeting wraps up and Laura hides as the fake EPA guy leaves. He unlocks the security gate on his way out, but Laura doesn't reach it in time and ends up trapped in the basement. And she heads back towards the meeting room. At the mansion, Boomer comes running out of the garage carrying supplies, specifically gasoline. Lots of gasoline.
Gasoline!
He starts pouring into liquor bottles and stuffing rags into them. I knew it. Football man has decided to solve the problem with Molotov cocktails. Apparently all those years of throwing touchdowns have prepared him for urban warfare. While they're building homemade firebombs, Trash Can Man continues trying to justify what he did. He talks about greed, money, the cost of living, and how all the rich people already had everything while he had nothing. The conversation basically boils down to this: both of these guys are selfish. The difference is, Boomer gets away with it, and Trash Can Man is probably going to prison. After their little therapy session and Molotov making workshop, they head out. In the hotel basement, Davi enters the real command center we've been seeing throughout the movie. Giant screens, computers, stolen money totals, the whole villain package. Laura sneaks up to the door and starts listening. Boomer's hanging halfway out of his car with a lit Molotov cocktail while Trash Can Man drives towards the ex-cops. Boomer launches it, direct hit. Police cars burst into flames. Then her old friend from the SWAT truck shows up. Boomer throws another Molotov and lights that guy up too. Our heroes immediately spin the car around and retreat before anyone can return the favor. Back at the hotel, Laura is still pressed against the command center door listening. Inside, Davi contacts the leader of the ex-cops and tells them they've already collected over $500 million. He wants to end the operation early. All they have to do is hit the primary, and then they can finally call it a day. At that exact moment, Boomer uses the stolen police radio and jumps into the conversation. He tells Davi the jig is up, and Davi tries to buy him off. Boomer refuses, so Davi immediately switches to plan B. Kill him. Which is funny because they've already spent the last half hour trying to do exactly that. Laura then accidentally makes a noise in the hallway, and Davi immediately realizes somebody has been listening in. He grabs a stun gun and takes off after her. Meanwhile, Boomer's decided things have become personal, and he tells Trash Can Man that they need to stop whatever the primary is. The problem? Neither of them has the slightest idea what the primary actually is. Trash Can Man shrugs, starts the car, and they peel out. Back in the hotel basement, Laura is still running around from Davi. After a bit of cat and mouse, he suddenly jumps out and surprises her.
I just thought.
Supplies! Put your bear!
As he chases her, Davi starts thanking her, which is not what I expected. Through increasingly heavy asthma wheezing, he explains that none of this would have been possible without her. Apparently at a Christmas party the year before, he got access to her father's insurance records. Once he saw who owned what and how much everything was worth, he came up with the entire robbery scheme. You know, as one does. Laura bolts through another doorway and nearly falls over a railing into what appears to be a giant industrial ventilation shaft. Because every luxury hotel basement has one of those. Davi bursts through the door a moment later and spots Laura's red sweater dangling near one of the fans. Laura herself is nowhere to be found, at least until the camera pulls back and reveals she's hanging underneath the catwalk.
Yeah, on the catwalk, yeah.
After standing there for a while, Davi gives up and leaves. Laura climbs back up, finds an emergency exit, and then just stands there. Why? No idea. But it gives Davi enough time to sneak up behind her and light her up with a stun gun. Good job, Laura. Meanwhile, the fake cops radio all the roadblocks and inform that several EPA vehicles and ambulances carrying injured officers are leaving the quarantine zone. They order every checkpoint to let them pass without inspection. And once again, I have to admit, this plan is fantastic. The fake chemical spill, the fake EPA agents, the fake emergency vehicles.
Fake.
Honestly, if not for Boomer running around, setting everything on fire, these guys probably would have gotten away with it. Back in Beverly Hills, our duo make another pass at the ex-cops. Boomer starts launching Molotov cocktails like he's trying out for the NFL firebomb division. The ex-cops open fire, and Boomer responds by throwing more Molotovs. Several more cars explode. It's simple, it's effective, and it's pretty great. Back beneath Davi's hotel, Laura wakes up to find Davi handing her a cup of coffee.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And acting like nothing happened. He casually apologizes for the tasing accident, and somehow Laura doesn't immediately throw the coffee in his face. Upstairs, the police chief finally manages to corner the fake EPA agent and starts asking actual questions. You know, things like, what are you doing? And what are the next steps? Can you explain literally anything? The police chief is apparently an idiot because the fake EPA agent completely fumbles every answer because he's not an EPA agent and clearly has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, you mean kind of like you?
The amazing part, the chief still hasn't figured it out yet. At this point, the EPA guy is basically one question away from saying, I don't know, man, I just work here. The ambulances that left the evac zone finally arrive at an airport and back up to a large cargo plane. Well, I guess now we know how they're planning to move all that stolen property. Back in Beverly Hills, the rest of the ex-cops are waiting for the bank vault to be opened. While Boomer and Trash Can Man continue cruising around in their increasingly damaged Rolls Royce. Boomer claims he knows the way out once they cross Rodeo. Unfortunately for them, they run into their old friend from the SWAT truck again, and only this time, he's carrying a flamethrower. Hell yeah! Trash Can Man swerves to avoid the flames, hits a jump, and we get an absolutely beautiful slow motion shot of the Rolls Royce flying through the air with a giant stream of fire lights up the background. Chef's kiss.
So good and tasty.
The car is riddled with bullet holes, missing a tire, and should probably be in about 12 different pieces by now. Instead, our heroes are completely fine. Trash Can Man drives into a parking garage, because parking garages always have multiple exits and are therefore the safest place to hide in action movies. The flamethrower guy follows them inside, and honestly, this whole sequence looks fantastic. The dark garage, the bright flames, the fire trailing backward because of the vehicle's speed. It's genuinely a cool visual. Boomer starts pouring gasoline out of the window as they drive. Eventually the fuel ignites, police cars catch fire, and another vehicle explodes. The flamethrower guy remains hot on their tail. See what I did there?
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
At one point, Boomer pulls out a gun and starts firing into the roof of the car. I have questions. I understand that he doesn't know how to use a firearm, but why would you think the roof is the enemy? The chase continues all the way up to the top level of the garage, with flamethrower guys still holding down the trigger. How big is the fuel tank on that thing? Up on the roof, more ex-cops are waiting. More crashes, more fire, more exploding vehicles. Eventually our heroes pull alongside flamethrower guy, who sets the hood of the Rolls Royce on fire. Trash Can Man can't see a thing, so instead of hitting the brakes, he floors it directly into a wall. The Rolls Royce crashes through the edge of the parking garage and flies onto the roof of another building. Then it crashes through the roof, then through another floor. Then it finally stops, and somehow our heroes climb out without a scratch. Flamethrower guy arrives moments later and sees the wrecked Rolls explode. Satisfied that no human being can survive that, he radios in that Boomer and Trash Can Man are dead. Problem solved. Except our heroes are standing 20 feet away, listening to the entire conversation. Through the radio traffic, they learn that the primary is being moved to Davi's house. Wait, I thought the bank was the primary target. Oh, apparently not. At Davi's mansion, workers are busy uncovering some kind of buried chamber or something. And now I'm starting to wonder, is this entire thing just one giant insurance scam? As Boomer and Trash Can Man leave the building, Boomer grabs a decorative display off the wall. Wait, are those ninja stars? The movie barely acknowledges it before moving on, but yes, Boomer now has ninja stars. Because if you can throw a football, you can apparently throw ninja stars.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
What?
Back at headquarters, Davi orders everyone to start packing up. The computer reports that they've stolen more than $650 million.
Damn!
And the timer's almost finished. Laura gets loaded into an ambulance while everyone prepares to leave. At the bank, the SWAT truck is used to pull part of the wall free, and this is where things get free. The wall turns out to be a giant stone mural, not a vault, not a safe, a wall. What kind of bank account do you need to store an entire wall? One of the ex-cops claims it's worth $1 billion. Sure, according to who? And more importantly, who exactly is buying a stolen wall? Back at Davi's house, the giant underground chamber is finally revealed. The timer hits 0, and the operation is officially over. Boomer and Trash Can Man hide inside a store on Rodeo Drive. Boomer breaks open a display case, grabs a purse, and loads it with ninja stars.
The pair leave the store just in time to see the mural being loaded onto a truck.
Boomer decides they need to stop the convoy. His solution? Ninja stars. Boomer throws one at a passing police car and hits the driver right in the face. The car immediately crashes into a building and explodes. And just like that, the convoy stops. Flamethrower guy jumps out of his truck while our heroes hide against the front of a nearby building. Unfortunately, they're spotted. Everyone now realizes Boomer and Trash Can Man survived the crash. Boomer throws another ninja scar. Another police car crashes. Another explosion follows. Flamethrower guy is now upgraded to a giant rifle, which means he's officially Rifle Guy. Rifle Guy opens fire while more police cars continue crashing into things around him. Eventually, Trash Can Man gets shot and both men crash through the glass storefront. Rifle Guy assumes the problem has solved itself and walks away. He tells the leader of the ex-cops to verify the kills. I have to give the movie credit here. For once, a villain actually checks to see if the heroes are dead. The ex-cop leader walks over, sees them laying on the floor, and radios Davi. He reports that Boomer's dead and says he'll finish things personally. Davi is thrilled at this news. He tells him to meet them at the mansion because he already has Laura. Of course, Boomer isn't dead, which means he now knows exactly where Laura is. The cop later pulls out a small bomb and says he's been saving for special occasions. He arms it, delivers a one-liner.
Looks like you're finally gonna earn that nickname, Boomer.
And heads back to his truck. Boomer immediately grabs the bomb, runs into the street and launches it like a Hail Mary pass, and somehow it lands perfectly in the back of the guy's truck. Touchdown. The truck explodes, and that's the end of him. Rifle Guy sees the explosion, can't raise anyone on the radio, and assumes the worst. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew continues lowering the mural into Davi's underground chamber. Inside the mansion, Davi finally explains the entire plan to Laura. She points out that he can't sell the mural, and he can't even display it without getting caught. Davi laughs. The mural was never the point, it's just a chess piece. The real goal was to steal his own property, collect the insurance payout from her father's company, and use the situation to force his way into becoming chairman of the board.
Carrot Top is
certifiably insane
chairman of the board.
I have to admit, it's actually a pretty clever scam. Rifle Guy eventually makes his way back down to Rodeo. And discovers the ex-cop leader's truck upside down and on fire. He does not look happy. He scans the area and spots Boomer casually walking down the street with Trash Can Man slung over his shoulder. Rifle Guy immediately charges over to finish the job. He pulls out some kind of retractable knife thing and prepares for a dramatic showdown. Boomer's response? He sets Trash Can Man down, grabs a football-sized rock, and absolutely launches it into Rifle Guy's head. Direct hit. Lights out. Honestly, after spending the entire movie establishing that Boomer is a professional quarterback, this might be the most believable thing he's done. Boomer walks back over to Trash Can Man and discovers he's still alive. The old hidden bulletproof vest trick strikes again.
But what if he shot you in the face?
Trash Can Man gets back on his feet, and the pair immediately steal the SWAT truck and head for Davi's mansion. At the mansion, the final touches are being put on burying the giant stone mural, while Davi and his crew celebrate with glasses of wine. Inside, Davi sits down with Laura and lays out her options. Either she marries him, or she dies. I'm sorry, what? Did we accidentally switch genres? This sounds less like a modern crime thriller and more like medieval England. It somehow gets even better. Davi makes his ultimatum while threatening her with a medieval crossbow. A crossbow. The man has spent the entire movie organizing the most elaborate robbery scheme imaginable, and now he's role-playing as a feudal lord? Laura's response is basically, just shoot me, because I'm not marrying you. Fair. Outside, Boomer and Trash Can Man arrive in the stolen SWAT truck and do the most action movie thing possible. They drive it straight through the front door. The truck crashes into the mansion. Our heroes jump out. Boomer immediately starts taking down ex-cop and works his way towards Davi. Davi fires the crossbow, but Boomer just ducks. The two crash into each other and start rolling around on the floor. Eventually, Davi gains the upper hand somehow and starts choking Boomer. Our hero spots an ice pick nearby, grabs it, and drives it straight into Davi's chest. And that's the end of Robert Davi's master plan. The movie cuts ahead to the aftermath. The real police have finally rounded up their surviving ex-cops. Trash Can Man is lying on a gurney, and he wants to confess his involvement in the robbery. Boomer tells him not to bother. He redeemed himself. Without Trash Can Man, Boomer would have been dead several times over. Trash Can Man is loaded into the ambulance while Boomer heads over to Laura. The two kiss, the music swells, and that's the end of the Taking of Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills! So, first off, awesome movie. This thing has great explosions, great car crashes, a surprisingly clever robbery scheme, a bunch of recognizable faces, and a story that actually kept me interested the entire way through. Once the fake chemical spill plot got rolling, the movie rarely slows down. Every time you think things have settled down, someone crashes through a wall, blows up a mansion, or starts chasing people with increasingly ridiculous weapons. The robbery plan itself is fantastic. Fake a toxic chemical spill, evacuate Beverly Hills, lock up the real cops, disguise yourself as emergency responders, and spend an hour robbing some of the richest people in America. It's one of the smarter villain plans we've seen on Rewind in quite a while. As for plot holes, there really aren't that many actually. The biggest one is probably those ambulances that made it to the cargo plane. The movie really never follows up on them. So I guess some of the crew got away? Either that or there's a deleted scene sitting on a studio floor somewhere that explains what happened. The movie also seemed to be hammering home the idea that greed eventually destroys itself. Davi already had money, power, influence, a football team, and pretty much everything a guy could want. But Laura wouldn't date him, and because he's always wanted more, he cooked up an insanely complicated scheme that eventually got him stabbed with an ice pick in his own living room. Not exactly a great long-term investment strategy. And speaking of Davi, what was the deal with that asthma inhaler? The movie goes out of its way to show it multiple times. Early on, I was convinced it was going to become important later.
What a retard.
Maybe Boomer would use it against him. Maybe Davi would have an attack during the finale. Maybe it would somehow expose the plot. Nope, it never goes anywhere. But still, that's a pretty minor complaint. At the end of the day, The Taking of Beverly Hills is exactly the kind of movie I love finding for this channel. It's got a fun premise, memorable villains, plenty of action, huge explosions, ridiculous stunts, and just enough insanity to keep things entertaining from beginning to end. Definitely a solid movie. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
Sir, are you wearing a condom?
What?
No, I didn't think so. Well, this is a safe sex zone, sir, so you're gonna have to move along.
As a matter of fact, I produce a patented spermicide which I developed.
Oh, I don't, but I want to tell you, my wife really liked your products.
I'm glad you're still having fun.
You married?
My wife left me for a dentist. Probably better at oral sex or something.